Hello students, welcome to Well Explained PDR. Today I am here with Class 9 Chemistry is Matter Around us Pure, Part 4, that is the separation of mixtures. Students, we know that what are mixtures. Now, many of the material around us are mixtures. These mixtures have two or more than two substances mixed in them. Okay, and in our daily life, at home, and in industries, we need to separate them out. We cannot use them like this only. कोई भी मिक्सचर है, जैसे अब घर में अगर आप एक छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल ले लीजिए कि आप दाल बना रहे हैं, मम्मा दाल बना रही हैं, दाल में बहुत सारी इम्प्योरिटीज भी हो सकती हैं, कंकड़ पत्थर हो सकते हैं, है ना। तो आपको आप दाल ऐसे तो नहीं बना सकते, आप क्या करेंगे, उसको सेपरेट आउट करेंगे, ठीक है। तो दीज सिंपल मेथड्स, दाल साफ करने के लिए मम्मा क्या यूज करती हैं, हैंड पिकिंग, दिस यू हैव स्टडीड इन योर क्लास 6, ओके। सीविंग द फ्लोर, आटा छानती हैं, and filtration as you have already studied filtration of sand from water, या चाय छानते हैं तो वो भी एक filtration ही है। So these are the common simple methods that we use in our daily life. Sometimes special techniques are also used to separate components of mixtures, and these techniques are evaporation, centrifugation, decantation, sublimation. Centrifugation is repeated, sorry. Then chromatography and distillation and fractional distillations. These are some special techniques which are used to separate the components or the constituents of mixture. Now students, first of all, before learning the separations of mixtures, we should consider the following three cases. What type of mixtures we are going to study, of which we are separating the constituent. These are number one, mixture of two solids, that is solid mixed with solid, as you can give example of salt and sand or sugar and sand. Okay, salt and sand. You can give example of sugar and sand, salt and sand. Mixture of a solid in a liquid. This is a very common type of mixture. You can give example of salt solution, sugar solution, okay, sand in water. These are all solid in a liquid mixture, okay, sand in water. And mixture of two liquids. You can give example of, in this you can give example of alcohol and water, or you can give example of water plus oil, okay. Now coming to the separation of a mixture of two solids, means solid-solid mixture. So there are three techniques that can be used. Number one is by using a suitable solvent. You know what is a solvent? It's a substance which dissolves solute in it, and it is the substance which is present in larger quantity in a solution. Second is by the process of sublimation. You know what is sublimation? It is the changing of solid to direct gaseous state. And third is by using a magnet. So these three techniques, any one of these three, we can use to separate the mixture of two solids. Now separation using a suitable solvent. Okay. सूटेबल सॉल्वेंट क्यों कहा है? क्योंकि सॉल्वेंट जरूरी नहीं है कि कोई भी कंस्टिट्यूएंट है वो किसी भी सॉल्वेंट में डिसॉल्व हो जाए. जिस सॉल्वेंट में डिसॉल्व होगा वी आर गोइंग टू यूज दैट सॉल्वेंट ओनली. फॉर दिस वी हैव taken an example of mixture of a sand and sugar. Now what we will do, we'll take the mixture in a beaker and add water to it. Water is solvent here. We will stir it. Now when we will stir it, what will happen? The sugar will dissolve in water. Sugar जो है वो पानी में dissolve हो जाएगी, जबकि sand will not. Sand will not dissolve in water. Then this is passed through a filter paper. फिर इस solution को हम क्या करेंगे? ये जैसे हमने सेटअप कर रखा है, funnel में एक filter paper लगा रखा है and we will pass this solution through this filter paper. Okay. Sand will remain on filter paper as residue. This is sand as residue, and solution of sugar and water will come in the beaker. This is the filtrate. Here, this filtrate consists of sugar and water. Then this sugar solution is heated carefully till all water is evaporated and we get sugar in the dish. In this way, a mixture of sugar and sand can be separated. Okay. Now this is one example of sand and sugar. We can use sand and salt also. We will use the same technique by using solvent as water as solvent. Okay. But suppose if we are provided with a mixture of sand and sulfur, that in that case we cannot use water because both sand and sulfur are insoluble in water. In that case, the uh, solvent used will be carbon disulfide. The all steps will be same. We'll take the mixture in a beaker and add carbon disulfide to it. We'll stir it. We'll see that sulfur will dissolve in carbon disulfide, whereas sand will not. Then this is passed through a filter paper. As you can see in the figure, sand will remain on filter paper and a solution of sulfur and carbon disulfide will come in the beaker. Then this solution is heated carefully till all the carbon disulfide is evaporated and we get sulfur in the dish. In this way, a mixture of sulfur and sand can be separated. I think it is clear to all of you. Okay, in this way we can separate any mixture of solid in a solid. Now the next technique is sublimation. What is sublimation? I've already told you. Sublimation is the technique in which a substance changes to its vapor gaseous state without undergoing a solid. It changes to vapor or gaseous state without undergoing the liquid state. Okay. This is used to separate those substances from a mixture which sublimes on heating. तो इसमें मिक्सचर में आपको देखना पड़ेगा कि दो कंस्टिट्यूएंट्स हैं उनमें कोई ऐसा तो नहीं है जो सब्लाइम करता है. अगर करता है तो we are going to use this technique of sublimation. This method is used to separate a mixture of a sublimable component from a non-sublimable component. Suppose, as you can see here, mixture is given of ammonium chloride and common salt. Okay, so this mixture is taken in this china dish. Okay, and this funnel, inverted funnel, you can see the funnel ulta करके रखा हुआ है and a cotton plug is kept over here. क्यों प्लग लगाया गया है कि जो वेपर्स जब उड़ेंगे तो ये बाहर ना निकल जाए. ओके, नाउ with the help of burner, this mixture is heated, mixture of ammonium chloride and salt. What will happen? Ammonium chloride जो है it vaporizes to form ammonium chloride vapors, and when they will hit this stem or the walls of this funnel, what will happen? They will condense to form solid ammonium chloride. And what is left in the this china dish? Salt is left in the china dish. In this way, we can separate the mixture of sublimable component from a non-sublimable component. So, if a mixture of ammonium chloride and common salt is heated, the ammonium chloride sublimes and can be cooled and solidified and collected, and salt is left behind. In this way, we can separate mixture of any sublimable component from a non-sublimable component. Examples of sublimable components are ammonium chloride, iodine, camphor, naphthalene and anthracene. So if you see that in any mixture, any of these component is there, iodine, camphor, naphthalene and anthracene, so you can use this sublimation for the separation of the mixture. Okay. Now separation of a mixture using a magnet. अब मैग्नेट तो कहाँ यूज होगी? जहाँ पर मैग्नेटिक मटेरियल्स होंगे. ठीक है, जैसे मिक्सचर ऑफ अ सल्फर एंड आयरन. This is sulfur, this yellow powder, this black is iron filings. When these two are mixed, this iron plus sulfur, this mixture is iron plus sulfur, and what we will do? We will use a horseshoe magnet. Horseshoe magnet, you can see it's U-shaped magnet, and this magnet is moved on the surface of the mixture. And when this magnet is moved on the surface of the mixture, what will happen? This all the iron filings, they will cling to the two poles of the magnet. They get attracted to the magnet and leaving the sulfur in the dish. This process is repeated many times till all the iron gets separated from the mixture. Now suppose it is asked how will you separate a mixture of sulfur and iron filings without using magnet. So what will you do? You will use a solvent. Okay. With solvent, carbon disulfide. You will take this mixture in a beaker and add carbon disulfide to it. And sulfur will dissolve in carbon disulfide. You will filter the solution. Iron filings will left in the on the filter paper, and this will come as filtrate in the beaker sulfur and carbon disulfide. Then you will evaporate, heat the solution, the carbon disulfide will evaporate and what is left? Sulfur will be left. Okay. Now separation of a mixture of a solid and a liquid. All these type of mixtures can be separated by using any one of the following processes. They may be by filtration, by centrifugation, by evaporation, by crystallization, by chromatography and by distillation. Any of the following process can be used to separate a mixture of a solid and a liquid. The number one is by filtration. Filtration हमने we have already studied in our previous classes also and in the previous section also. Filtration is used to separate insoluble substances from a liquid. अब जो solid और liquid का mixture है तो दो तरीके से बन सकता है. एक तो soluble solid in a liquid, that will be a solution, and insoluble solid or substance in a liquid, it will be a heterogeneous mixture. So filtration जो है, it is used to separate insoluble substances from a liquid. For example, a mixture of chalk and water, sand and water, and so on. Now in this, what we'll do, we'll take the liquid and insoluble solid in a beaker. We will set up the arrangement like this. कि funnel पे filter paper लगा हुआ है. We will pass this mixture into this funnel with filter paper. What will happen? The filtered solid residue will be here. Suppose it is a mixture of chalk and water. The chalk will remain here and water will filtered liquid. This means clear liquid water will come in the beaker. So this will be water, and what is left on the filter paper? It is chalk. If it is a mixture of chalk and water. अगर sand and water है तो यहाँ पर sand रह जाएगा, water नीचे आ जाएगा. So this is filtration. Filtration is also used at water filtration units, जहाँ से हमारे को घरों में water supply पानी पीने के लिए मिलता है, तो वहाँ पर भी filtration is used to separate this impurities from the water and make it fit for drinking. Okay, you must have studied this in detail in your class. I think 7 में पढ़ा होगा. तो उसमें कुछ नहीं करते हैं. अब ये तो हमारा सिंपल सेटअप है, ये लेबोरेटरी के लिए. तो उसमें पूरा एक फिल्टरिंग यूनिट होती है और उसमें स्टेप्स होते हैं. जैसे सबसे पहले स्टेप में द वाटर फ्रॉम अ रिवर और लेक, इट इज पम्प्ड एट द by the pumping station into a large reservoir which is called as sedimentation tank. तो डायरेक्टली रिवर से पानी आ गया, पंप किया गया, बहुत बड़े बड़े टैंक्स होते हैं, उनको सेडिमेंटेशन टैंक कहते हैं. वहाँ पर the water is allowed to settle for some time and the larger impurities they settle down. Sedimentation, I think you all must have studied. Okay. Then after that sedimentation tank, this water is sent to the loading tank. Loading tank में क्या करते हैं? उस टैंक में एलम मिला हुआ था, फिट करी. तो जो फाइन पार्टिकल्स होते हैं, clay particles, they get loaded on the alum particles and then they settle down. क्योंकि वैसे fine particles they are very light, they float in water. But जब loading tank में जब उनको alum मिल जाता है तो उस पर वो load होके larger particles बनाते हैं और वो वहाँ पर settle down हो जाते हैं. Now then third, water is then passed to the filtration tank. अब इस filtration tank की 3 layers होती हैं. Fine sand layer at the top, coarse sand layer in the middle and gravel at the bottom layer. और इन layers से वो water को pass कराते हैं. The layers of sand and gravel they act as filters. When water passes through the layers of sand and gravel, even the small suspended particles and other materials in water get removed. Then the clear water is then passed to the next tank, which is known as chlorination tank. Here the chlorine is added to the filtered water so that any bacteria, means chlorine acts as disinfectant, means कोई bacteria microorganisms है तो उसको kill कर देते हैं. And then clean and disinfected water is then pumped to a pumping station into high storage tank. और फिर in high storage tank से हमारे घरों में ये water supply होता है. Okay. Now the next method is centrifugation, the separation or by centrifugation. The method of separating denser particles and lighter particles from a mixture by using a centrifuging machine is called as centrifugation. You can see that this is a centrifugation machine. This is known as a centrifuge, and these are the centrifuge tubes. Okay, this is a manual machine. Otherwise, the machines running on electricity and other machines, modern machines are also there. So if we take some milk in a centrifuging machine, अब आपने इन test tubes में milk ले लिया, and if you spin it rapidly, इस handle से इसको spin किया बहुत तेजी से, the cream separates from the milk because cream is less dense than milk. Less dense means it is lighter than milk. तो इस टेक्निक से एक्चुअली जो सस्पेंडेड पार्टिकल्स हैं, फाइन सस्पेंडेड पार्टिकल्स हैं, दे आर सेपरेटेड. जैसे क्ले पार्टिकल्स बहुत फाइन होते हैं, फिल्टर पेपर से मे बी दे मे पास, दे कैन बी सेपरेटेड. और फिल्ट्रेशन प्रोसेस जो है, दिस इज स्लो प्रोसेस. दिस centrifugation is a quick process. We can separate the mixture. Okay. Now in dairies, milk dairies, cream is separated from the milk, and the milk which is left after the separation of milk, cream is known as skimmed milk. Now the next is separation by evaporation. Okay. अब जब insoluble solid था liquid में तो हमने यूज किया था filtration. Okay. अब अगर हमारा जो मिक्सचर है वो soluble solid in a liquid है, suppose sugar and water or salt and water, then we are going to use this technique by evaporation. This method is used for separating a volatile component, that is solvent, from a non-volatile component, that is solute, by heating the mixture. इसमें हम sugar solution, salt solution को भी separate out कर सकते हैं. We'll take this mixture of salt and water. You can see, we'll take this mixture of salt and water in this china dish. It is taken. Okay, or wire gauge is there, mesh of wire, then stand, tripod stand, and burner is there. When it is heated, what will happen? The water will evaporate. All the water will evaporate. And what is left in the china dish? That is salt. What is left in the china dish? Salt. Okay. Ink, we can separate the colored component or the dye from the ink. Ink is actually a mixture of a dye and water. If some ink is heated in a dish, the water evaporates and the dye is left in the dish. Similarly, we can separate a mixture of salt and water or sugar and water by evaporation. Now, when we separate a mixture of dye and water, that means ink में हम ink का जो colored component है उसको separate out कर रहे हैं, तो we do not heat it directly. We use a water bath. Take a water bath means we'll keep a beaker filled with water, and on that we will put the china dish. Okay. Now the next method is crystallization. Now what is crystallization? It is the process of cooling a hot concentrated solution of a substance to obtain crystals. By this process, we obtain a pure solid in the form of crystals from its solution. Okay. Now, by crystallization, we can obtain pure copper sulfate from its solution. How? अभी crystallization में क्या करते हैं? First of all, जिस चीज़ की भी हमें crystals चाहिए, अब यहाँ तो हमने example copper sulfate का दिया है. What we'll do? We'll dissolve about 5 grams of copper sulfate in minimum amount of water. Minimum amount of water means we are making a concentrated solution of this copper sulfate. Now then we will filter the solution to remove the impurities. जो insoluble impurities रह गई हैं उसको हम by filtration remove कर देंगे. Then we will heat the solution and we will evaporate the solution in a china dish to get a saturated solution. अब saturated solution बना है नहीं बना उसको पता करने के लिए we'll take a glass rod, we'll dip into the beaker of that जो solution हम heat कर रहे हैं उसमें, and we will take it out and cool it. We will see the small crystals on the glass rod. That means the solution has become saturated. Now we'll cover the solution with a filter paper. Okay, the filter paper we will cover it and allow it to cool. Pure copper sulfate crystals are formed. You can see this is impure copper sulfate, and these are the crystals which are pure, means they are not containing any impurity. Now the next technique is by chromatography. This chromatography is used for separating colored components from a liquid by using a filter paper or blotting paper. Okay? For this, what is chromatography? It is a technique of separating two or more dissolved solids which are present in a solution in very small quantities. Many type of chromatographies are there, but the simplest form of chromatography is paper chromatography. This you can see this is a paper in this jar. This is paper chromatography. Okay. This separation is based on the fact that though two or more substances are soluble in the same solvent, but their solubilities may be different. The basis of chromatography, principle behind this chromatography is that the two or more, the difference in the solubilities of the solutes in a solvent. Okay. Now for this, what we'll do, we'll take a paper strip and we will hang it in the glass jar. You can see, and this is water. What is here? Water is, and on this paper what we'll do, we will put a mark line, and at the center we will put the components to be separated. जैसे ink है तो ink की drop हम इसको concentrated form में दो तीन बारी जैसे रख डाली, क्योंकि filter paper है it will soak, और उसको सुखा लिया फिर रखा, तो दो तीन बारी रखने के बाद, और ये जो hanging है पेपर की, तो ये बस हल्का सा टच कर रहा हो वाटर में पेपर स्ट्रिप. ओके. Now take a thin and long strip of paper as you can see in this and draw a pencil line about 2 to 3 centimeters from one end. यहाँ से ये जो distance है 2 to 3 centimeter का हमें रखना है, ये line जो हमने बनाई. Then we will put a small drop of black ink on the filter paper strip at the center of the pencil line. ठीक है? Then drop of ink has dried. The filter paper strip is lowered into a glass jar, tall glass jar containing some water in the lower part, keeping the pencil line at bottom. Pencil line bottom पे रखते हुए हम इसको lower means लटकाएंगे इसमें. The filter paper strip is held vertically by attaching its upper end to a glass rod with sellotape. ये glass rod है या pencil हमने, और इस पर हमने इसको sellotape से लटका दिया. Okay. Now this is filter paper. So this will soak or the water gets absorbed in it. Okay. The water gradually rises up the filter paper strip by capillary action, and as water moves up the paper strip, it takes along the dyes which are present in the ink. The dye which is more soluble, it will dissolve first and it will go higher. जो dye ज़्यादा soluble होगी वो ज़्यादा ऊंची जाएगी. Okay. Rises faster and produces a colored spot on the paper at a higher position. The less soluble dyes, then this will less soluble dyes, and this is the least soluble dye. When the water reaches near the top end of the filter paper, अब ऐसे जाते जाते पानी जब ऊपर तक पहुंच जाएगा top end तक, then the paper strip is removed from the jar and it is drying. The paper with its separate color spots is called as a chromatogram. This is a, what is this? This is a chromatogram. What is this? This is a chromatogram. Okay. The chromatogram obtained by using black ink in this black ink ली गई थी, तो it has 3 colored component spots on it. This means that the given sample of black ink has 3 different dyes mixed in it. Now, chromatography is very useful where it is used to separate solutions of colored substances, dyes and pigments. It is also used in forensic science to detect and identify trace amounts of substances like poisons in the contents of bladder or stomach, and it is also used to separate small amounts of products of chemical reactions. Okay. Now next is by distillation. Now the earlier methods of evaporation which we studied to separate salt solution, that is salt from water. What happened when we evaporated, when we heated the solution, the water evaporated and salt left behind in the China dish. But suppose we have to we have to recover both, means salt को भी recover करना है और water को भी recover करना है, तब हम क्या करेंगे? In that case, we'll use the process of distillation. You can see in this distillation, what is this? This is the distillation flask. Thermometer is there, and this flask is special, having this outlet, and this is Liebig's condenser. This condenser has given a special name, and here you can see cold water entering from this and hot water coming out. Okay, and this is connected to a receiving flask or conical flask. Okay, now what we have taken, salt water we have taken, it is heated up. When this is heated up, water evaporates and starts boiling. The water gets heated up and starts boiling, forming vapors. और ये vapors जो हैं इस कंडेंसर में से होके जाएंगे. जब वेपर्स कंडेंसर में जा रहे हैं तो यहाँ से कोल्ड वाटर अंदर एंटर कराया जाता है, जिसकी वजह से जो वेपर्स है दे कंडेंसेस टू फॉर्म liquid again, and this liquid will trickle, यहाँ पे drop by drop नीचे आता जाएगा. Okay, so in this way the water is collected here and the salt remains behind in the distillation flask. Okay, now the next type of mixtures, in which mixtures are of 2 or more liquids. All the mixtures, this is the separation of mixture of 2 or more liquids. So all the mixtures containing 2 or more liquids can be separated by any one of the following methods. And these methods are either by using fractional distillation or by using the separating funnel. If the liquids are miscible, miscible means they are soluble in each other, we are using fractional distillation. If the liquids are immiscible, then we will be using separating funnel. Now fractional distillation. Fractional distillation is used for separating a mixture of 2 or more miscible liquids. 2 or more miscible liquids whose difference in boiling point is less than 25 Kelvin. जो principle behind fractional distillation यही है that the liquids have different boiling points और उन दोनों के difference जो boiling points उनका difference less than 25 Kelvin होना चाहिए. The apparatus used for fractional distillation is similar to that used for simple distillation as in the previous slide, except that a fractionating column is fitted between the distillation flask and condenser. You can see this is distillation flask और यहाँ पर पहले कंडेंसर लगा हुआ था, बट इसके और कंडेंसर के बीच में अब ये क्या लग गया है, फ्रैक्शनेटिंग कॉलम. और इस फ्रैक्शनेटिंग कॉलम की एक खासियत होती है कि इट हैज ग्लास बीड्स which increases the surface for the vapors to cool and condense. The fractional distillation is used for separating the components of petroleum, separating the different gases from the air, etc. Okay. So what is the principle behind fractional distillation? It is the difference in the boiling point of the liquids which are present in the mixture. In most simple terms, a fractionating column can be regarded as an arrangement for providing different temperature zones inside it during distillation. the highest temperature being at the bottom of the column and the lowest temperature near its top. Suppose we have to separate a mixture of alcohol and water. So we'll take this mixture of alcohol and water where in this डिस्टिलेशन फ्लास्क. यहाँ पे हमने मिक्सचर ले लिया, ठीक है, और ये थर्मामीटर लगा हुआ है. अब हमने जब इसको हीट अप करना शुरू किया, क्योंकि अल्कोहल का जो बॉइलिंग पॉइंट है इट इज लेस देन दैट ऑफ वाटर. ओके, the boiling point of alcohol is 78 degrees Celsius. Boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. तो जैसे ही इसका टेम्परेचर 78 डिग्री सेल्सियस होगा तो what will happen? Alcohol will start forming vapors. The vapors will pass through this fractionating column. There they will condense and this alcohol will be collected in this. जब सारा alcohol बाहर आ जाएगा, टेम्परेचर बढ़ना शुरू होगा 100 डिग्री सेल्सियस. Now the water will start evaporating and in this fractionating column it will condense and then water will collect. Means if this will be changed, new flask will be kept and water will be collected in that flask. Okay, now this fractional distillation is used for separation of gases of the air. So how this is done? Air is compressed first by increasing the pressure and cooled by decreasing the temperature, and we get the liquid air. And once the air is liquefied, then this is allowed to warm up slowly in a fractional distillation column. तो air को separate हम as a gas नहीं करते. First of all, we compress it by increasing the pressure and decreasing the temperature, and then it gets liquefied. Then we put this liquid air in the fractional distillation column. Then the different components separate at different heights depending on their different boiling points. Suppose this is air. When it is compressed and cooled by increasing pressure and decreasing temperature, अब liquid air बन गई. Now it is allowed to warm up slowly in fractional distillation column. अब gases get separated at different heights. Boiling point of oxygen is minus 183 degree, argon minus 186 and nitrogen is minus 196. The lowest boiling point is of nitrogen, that is minus 196 degrees Celsius, and the highest boiling point is of oxygen, that is minus 183 degree Celsius. Okay, these all temperatures are in degree Celsius. तो जिसका लोएस्ट बॉइलिंग पॉइंट होगा वो पहले बॉईल होके वेपर बन के अलग हो जाएगा, फिर उसके बाद वाला और द लास्ट वन. ओके, now separation by a separating funnel. This technology or this method or this technique is used when the two liquids are immiscible. For example, kerosene water, oil water, petrol water. So this method is used for separating a mixture of immiscible liquids. Liquids separate into different layers depending on their densities. जिसकी डेंसिटी कम होगी that will be lighter and that will form layer above, और जिसकी डेंसिटी ज़्यादा होगी वो नीचे होगा. If we take a mixture of kerosene oil and water, so we know kerosene oil is lighter, its density is less than that of water, so it forms a layer above and water will be below. Okay, so it forms separate layers of oil and water. The water can be separated by opening the stopcock. Stopcock means ये जो है stopcock है, इसको हम open करके पहले हमने water निकाल लिया. जब level यहाँ पे आ गया, पूरा water नीचे आ गया, तो we will change the beaker. दूसरा beaker रखेंगे यहाँ पे और हम उसमें वापस oil ले आएंगे. After the water flows out, the stopcock can be closed, and then again it can be opened and oil can be separated. Clear to all of you? This was all for the separation of mixtures. Hope you understood and you are enjoying my videos. Students, please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon so that whenever a new video is uploaded, you will get notifications. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.